Joplin Schools Board of Education meeting to order, please. Roll call, Mrs. Worsler.
Present.
Present.
Here.
Present.
Present.
Here.
Here, if you would, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Mrs. Sherrick, a second by Mr. Greenlee to approve the agenda as presented. Any additional commentary on this item? Hearing none, please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, the agenda is approved. Board President's Report, celebrations. Abigail, would you like to share the student celebrations this month?
I would love to. Okay, so first the trunk or treat. On Thursday, October 26th, the JHS Student Council hosted their annual community trunk or treat. There were many tables, booths, and trunks there. They were all run by high school students with their different clubs and programs. Hundreds of kids from around the area were able to dress up, play some games, and of course, receive candy. Overall, it was a success. Then next, on Tuesday, October 24th, a new group at JHS held their first meeting. The Student Advisory Council had lunch with Dr. Oliver. We discussed many things such as the school's culture, recognizing extracurriculars, and different senior activities. This council will meet once a month, all with the goal to hear student voices and improve the high school experience. Then speech and debate. The JHS speech and debate team has had a very successful season so far. The last couple of weekends, they've traveled to Kansas City and Springfield and taken home many medals. At the most recent tournament, Kate Sinclair took first in humorous interpretation, Eve Phillips took second in Lincoln Douglas debate, and the team Asa Bodenhorn and Rose Ray took third in public forum debate. Coach DeGraff, Mr. Braun, and Mr. Keskamethi would like to thank everyone so far for their help and support. They also have many more tournaments coming up throughout the winter and even into the spring, so we're excited to see what else they're going to do. And the last one I have is senior parking spots. This one's really exciting. Over the weekend of November 4th and 5th, seniors were able to paint parking spots at the high school. This whole event was organized by Project Graduation, where 2/3 of the proceeds will go to Project Graduation in May for all of the seniors. We were able to choose our own spots for the year and come up with a fun design. It was a really fun event in which we were able to just kind of be creative and also bond with one another while we were all out there. What is your parking spot? Oh, it's purple, and I made it look like a Spotify song. Anyways, and I think there was a few other celebrations with the scholars.
The next item is the Joplin High School Science Research Class in Missouri School Boards Association. Is that what you're referring to?
No, the ones with the those.
These. Okay, go
Yep.
ahead.
So 2 Joplin High School seniors have been recognized as National College Board Award winners. Alyssa Keene was recognized as a National African American Recognition Award winner, and Parker Williamson was recognized as a National Indigenous Award winner. Students are chosen based on the earning of a GPA 3.5 or higher, while also outstanding performance on the PSAT and a bunch of other tests. College Board recognition programs celebrate students' hard work in high school and showcase their strong academic performance, so we're proud of those 2. And then next we have the National Merit semifinalists. Also 2 seniors, Aiden Koch and Daniel Fajardo, have been named National Merit semifinalists, placing them in the top 1% of students nationally who took the PSAT assessments last fall. Congratulations to them on their outstanding accomplishment. And then last, we also have the semifinalists for the Coca-Cola Scholars Program. We're thrilled to announce that 2 of our outstanding seniors, Alex Carson and Aiden Koch have been named as semifinalists for the prestigious Coca-Cola Scholars Program. More than 103,000 applicants, and they both got chosen from our school. Their remarkable dedication and achievements have set them apart, and we're excited that they've marked this milestone in their academic journey. I believe that's actually all I have now.
Thank you very much. We would like to thank the Joplin High School Science Research Unit for coming to Missouri School Boards Association Conference in Kansas City this fall. And we had an opportunity to be there, and they presented to the group that day. So our thanks are with the teachers and the students who were able to attend this conference. The science research students that attended were Anna Barnhart, Christian Kavanagh, Caroline Arisman, Dominic Ortiz, and Tiffany Udawa. JHS math instructor Adam Bennett accompanied the students along with science research instructor Carissa Boyer. Anna Barnhart was able to speak about her research project from last year. So you can see some really impressive photos here, and we are so thankful that they were able to make the trip to Kansas City. Congratulations to Carissa Boyer. Ms. Boyer was named as one of 3 national ambassadors for Science News Magazine through Science News Learning. As part of this role, Ms. Boyer will be asked to create professional science literacy education opportunities for other program educators across the United States. While acting as an ambassador, Ms. Boyer attended the High School Research Teachers Conference in October in Washington, D.C., where she had the opportunity to collaborate with this year's cohort of Science News Learning ambassadors on outreach goals and research presentations. Having a research class during my teaching schedule is a unique experience, and it can be very helpful to visit with teachers across the country that have similar situations, Boyer said. I'm excited to represent Joplin and to brag about our students. So our hats are off to Carissa Boyer for being selected for this prestigious ambassadorship. I apologize, I didn't have the item in front of me, so if you couldn't hear me, my apologies to those who are at home. Next item, our Veterans Day celebration. So we have been very lucky in Joplin schools. We have had various Veterans Days assemblies across the district, and one of those that stood out in a very particular way was at McKinley this past year. So we have had board members who attended that, and then we just really as a board are so thankful for those who are involved in our community as well as in our district who have served our country. And so we wanted to commemorate those individuals tonight. So we have a slideshow as we take a brief moment to recognize those who have served our country. These are some of our students, employees, students, PE teacher at Kinley, family members, at Stapleton. So we thank our veterans, and we are so glad that we've had so many excellent assemblies throughout the district to be able to honor them in a proper way, and that our students are able to recognize the value of those who've served our country. And we stand with them to recognize that as well. So we thank our veterans here in Joplin, and we're very proud of them. Our superintendent data report, Dr. Saketa.
Okay, Shelley Toft is going to start off with our audit, and I'll give it to you,
Yes.
Shelley.
Yeah, tonight we have Mandy Cullen from Westbrook and Company here with us, and I'm going to actually just kind of turn it over to her as she presents the audit to us.
Okay. Hello, everybody. As Shelley said, my name is Cindy Coolin, and I'm a partner with Westbrook and Company and one of the district's auditors. So thank you all so much for letting me join your meeting tonight and for letting me join it remotely. I'll just take a few minutes of your time to go through some highlights of the audit report. Hopefully you've had a chance to look through it, but I'm going to share my screen here and I will just go through the presentation, and I would be glad to answer any questions that you guys might have. So, on page 1 of your audit report, you can find our audit opinion. So here's where we state that the financial statements were presented fairly. There were no adjustments that were required to be made when we came into audit, so the financial statements were in good standing. So this is a clean or an unmodified audit opinion.
About midway down, full screen.
Then, yes, that's always a good place to start. On page 13 of your audit, this is as of June 30th of 2023, but here we can see the statement of activities. So what this shows us is on the far left of the screen, we can see expenditures broken down by function. And then as we move to the right, there are program revenues that come in to offset these expenditures. So this is going to be any charges for services or operating grants or capital grants or contributions that would have come in to offset those expenditures. Then to the far right, it shows a net expenditure column. So at the very bottom, we can see net costs of these services were about 97 million. Just know that then those costs are covered by your general revenues. So basic formula, property taxes, sales tax, those other general revenues, which are not presented on this slide. Now, we red boxed the two areas of food service and community services, just to point out that those are the two areas where a district may see that they break even. That doesn't always happen, but those are the two areas where typically there would be a potential to break even. And so you'll see, like with food service, that had a loss of about $4,500 as of the year end. Then on page 14 of the audit report, we can see the district's balance sheet. So this tells us cash balances broken down by fund, and over to the far right, we can see total cash balances of about 79.7 million as of year end. Below that, we can see that there was about 1.5 million of payroll liabilities as of June 30th of 2023. And then we see a breakdown here of the district's fund balances. So there were some funds that were restricted or assigned for a specific purpose. And I will show the detail of that on the next slide. But this shows us that total fund balances as of year end were about 78.1 million. I'm kind of skipping ahead in the audit report, but if you look in the audit report, there's a footnote specific to fund balances. And so this kind of gives you some more information about what comprises the balances of each fund. So we'll see in the general fund of the total fund balance as of year end, there was about $910,000 that was restricted for scholarships. There were also some monies that were assigned for either food service or student activities. And then anything left, this 46.175 million, that's going to be left to cover the district's general operating expenditures. Now, of course, in the debt service fund, those monies are restricted to service the district's debt. And then in the capital projects fund, we had about $1.6 million of committed funds, meaning these were funds that were set aside for a specific project where the project had been approved prior to year end, but maybe not completed or paid until the following year. And then anything left in the capital projects fund is going to be assigned for future capital outlay. On page 15 of the audit, we see the district statement of revenues, expenditures, and change in fund balance. So this tells us on the top portion of this, you can see district revenues for the year broken down by fund and by source. And all the way to the right, we'll see total revenues were about 113.4 million. Now moving down through the page, we see the same information as far as expenditures broken down by fund and by function for total expenditures of about 126 million. And then we have red boxed on this slide, the third line from the bottom, the net change in fund balances for the year. And so all the way to the right, we can see that fund balances decreased about 12.8 million. But if you look back to the left in the debt service fund and capital projects fund, you'll see that there were big decreases there as the district paid down debt and spent down bond proceeds. If we look in the first column, you'll see that general fund balances actually increased about 5.8 million during the year. So that gets us to our ending fund balance, the bottom line here, of about 78.1 million as of June 30th of 2023. Now, in the footnotes, you can find information about the district's long-term debt. You can see payments that were made on bonds during the year, as well as the anticipated payments for the next year. And then there's also information about the detail of those bonds, total balances due and interest rates on those bonds. Now, in our presentation, we like to put in a couple of trends of the district just so you can see some historical data. This tells us of the revenues collected by source, and it shows you a 5-year history so you can see the percentage of total revenues that were local, county, federal, or other. And so for June 30th of 23, we'll see that local revenues were up about 2%.
Hey,
federal revenues.
Mandy?
Yes.
Riley Hartwell here. Quick question.
Yes.
It doesn't state the page that this item is on. There's some board members here who are looking for it. Can you tell us where it is as we follow along here?
These graphs, this and the next 2 slides are strictly for the presentation.
Okay.
So you won't find that in your audit report.
So if she sent us the presentation afterwards.
So we'll see here
Hey, Mandy.
that, yes.
We have a board member who's asking that the presentation sent to us afterwards. So
Yes.
if you could do that, we would
Central
appreciate
office
that.
should have a copy of that. But if not, Shelley could reach out to me and I could send her
Okay.
another copy.
It sounds like they have it, so we'll get a
Okay.
copy of that from them. Thank you.
Perfect. Yep, no problem. So this is showing us your breakdown of revenues by source. And so if we look at this, we can see that local revenues were up about 2% for the year, whereas federal revenues were down about 2%. That was expected as the ESSER or the COVID funds have started to decrease. We've noticed, they're spent down, so federal revenues are dropping and districts went back to charging for meals for students. So those two kind of go hand in hand. County and state revenues were relatively flat from year to year. And then we have the same sort of information for expenditures. You can see a 5-year trend of what percentage of the district's expenditures were salaries and benefits versus purchased services or supplies. And of course, salaries and benefits are the bulk of that, usually around 75%. This next graph here shows you a couple of district trends. The top part is district reserves, so we can see that they've increased significantly, about 20% over the past 5 years. And for June 30th of 23, we showed that ending reserves were about 56.55%. And the bottom chart there shows average daily attendance. ADA dropped about 73 to 74, ending the year with 6,952 ADA.
Mandy, what is the standard that for example, the state of Missouri may state for reserves? What do they recommend that a district sits at?
There's not really a standard. What we recommend is 25% or higher. So you guys are very healthy. You're in a really good financial position, but if we have districts that are getting pretty low, we look at it as like, if you have 25%, that's enough to cover, 1/4 of your operating expenditures if you weren't getting anything else. So that's what we recommend to our districts that are low. But typically we see the 30% range. Right now, with all of the additional federal funds, all of our districts are sitting pretty high with reserves.
Thank you.
There's really not a standard
Thank you.
from the state or anything. Yep. This is on page 38 of your audit report. When we come into audit, we look at compliance with state statutes, specifically over attendance, transportation, budget, and purchasing. And during our audit, we didn't have any instances of non-compliance that were required to be reported. So that's what this page of your audit is referring to. Page 43 of the audit starts our report on internal controls. If you read through this report, you'll see that we don't provide an opinion on internal controls. However, we do analyze them. We look at what controls are in place to help us determine risk areas of the audit, but we didn't have any deficiencies in internal controls that were required to be reported. So if you read through this, you'll see that it states that they may exist, that were just not identified, but throughout our work, we did not come across any deficiencies that would be required to be reported to the district. We also look at compliance over federal programs and internal controls over federal programs. And so along with the financial statements, we didn't have any deficiencies or instances of non-compliance to report specifically to the federal programs either. This is page 48 of your audit report, but this is a summary of everything that we've talked about. I'm going to skip down towards the bottom for a second. This tells you the major programs that were required to be audited this year. So we audited title, special education, and the Education Stabilization Fund, or the ESSER funds. So those were the major programs that we audited, and those were the areas where I said we didn't notice any deficiencies in internal controls over those programs or any instances of non-compliance. And the top part of this just states that the financial statements had an unmodified or a clean audit opinion. There were no deficiencies that were required to be reported or instances of non-compliance. And then I'll hop to the bottom here. You'll see where we have boxed in red that it says that the district is not a low risk auditee. I always like to point this out because what this means is because the district reports their financial statements on a cash basis, which most school districts in Missouri do, the uniform guidance over federal programs says that if an organization is cash basis, 40% of their federal programs have to be audited. So I just like to point that out, that doesn't mean anything alarming. It just means audit-wise, a higher percentage of your federal programs have to be audited, and that's the guidance over federal programs is what governs that. You'll have a separate report, and I don't have a slide for it, but you'll have a required communications letter. And in that letter, it will state that we didn't have any disagreements with management. There were no journal entries that were required to be posted during the audit. And if we had any written comments that we were required to report or any written recommendations, they would be included in that report. But this year we didn't have any written comments that were reported. So I didn't put a slide for it. It's a really short report this year, but I just wanted to point that out to you. So that concludes my audit presentation. I know that was a really quick run through, but I would be glad to answer any questions you guys might have.
We did audit.
If you have any for me.
Yes, thank you for an excellent audit again, Shelley. I've always had excellent results during my time on the board. So we thank you and your team and those who are here this evening for what they do for Joplin schools and making sure that we are excellent in terms of our financial practices. So thank you.
Yes, I wanted to thank Shelley and Sarah and the whole central office team also. I wanted to mention that we were only there probably 3 to 4 weeks ago. So to have an audit completed, reviewed, turned around, and make the board presentation all within a month, that's really awesome. And it doesn't happen without the efficiencies and diligence of central office. So we really appreciate all of your help as well.
Thank you, Mandy.
Okay, thank you guys. You all have a good evening.
You as well. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Next item, strategic focus.
Okay, thank you again, Shelley and Sarah, for the work and your team as well, and everybody else that contributed to the audit. And in that spirit, we're going to talk about internal controls. So was Sarah going to come up?
Yeah, Sarah's going to come up.
And Shelley's going to tell us a little bit about how we try to keep a good, clean audit all throughout the year and some of the things that they're putting in place.
Yeah, this month's focus, we're looking at strategic plan focus 2, which is Joplin schools will use effective, efficient, and fiscally responsible processes to support district staff and operations. This summer, we kind of met with, before school started, the finance department decided to go out and meet with groups. I'm going to turn that over to Sarah Lopez. This is Sarah Lopez, Director of Accounting, and so you don't get to see her much, but she is behind the scenes working furiously.
On the back row. So I don't have a PowerPoint, guys.
That's fine.
So just imagine. One of the roles of the finance department is to ensure that the district's purchases and financial transactions meet all Board of Education, DESE, State of Missouri, and federal guidelines. With a district the size of Joplin Schools, this task would be impossible without the help of all employees and departments that are involved with purchasing, applying for grants, fundraising, staff payroll, and timekeeping. The finance department's focus this year has been on strengthening internal controls, especially proper segregating of duties at the building level and secure cash handling throughout the district, but focusing on the building level. The first step we took to implement the strong internal controls was to help our staff members understand the why for each of the procedures we were implementing. Before school started, finance separately met with building secretaries, principals, directors, and activity sponsors. In these meetings, we focused on each required procedure step by step and explained the rationale for these steps. Staff members who participate in each training were reminded that strong internal control procedures not only protect the employee, but the district as well. The response from staff has been positive after this education. One of the best outcomes we've seen after this year's internal control emphasis is a greatly improved staff communication and district-wide understanding of correct financial protocol. We typically have staff members routinely reach out to the finance department and ask for guidance on how to handle specific situations, such as correctly coding purchases, abiding by applicable rules and guidelines. This allows us to make sure that all reporting requirements are met in real time and that we are in good standing for the next audit. We've really maintained and tried to focus that all employees in one way or another are active participants in maintaining effective, efficient, and fiscally responsible processes within the district.
Very good.
The end.
Sarah.
Very good. And I know they put a lot of time and effort into that, and we have new employees, and we have employees that maybe in the past weren't sure about some of our practices. So I think that what they're trying to do on a continual basis and an annual basis is real important to help us keep track of everything we need to financially. So thank you very much for that plan.
The internal controls, that's a hard thing because oftentimes people are like, well, this is so petty or this is so little, but to keep those going and having somebody oversee those, I think is good, particularly in cash management. So keep on that, and we appreciate your work on that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
All right, continuing on with some things that we've been working on. I want to give Mr. Harding an opportunity to talk about updated busing and transportation.
Sure. From last meeting, as we talked about, your transportation department's working very hard and pushing forward. And we had a goal of 51 bus drivers that we need to be on time with all of our routes. And so currently that happened late last week. Our 51st bus driver, well, actually our 51st bus driver passed the test and then resigned. And so that's kind of, but luckily thing was there's another one that's jumped right back in his place. And so we hit 51. We're at 44 full-time, 7 part-time, 10 subs, and we still have 3 in training. And so we're still moving those numbers up. Daily, we need 24 aides to cover all of our buses, our special ed buses and early childhood. We currently have 31. Now a lot of those are subs, so sometimes they're hard to pin down all the time. So, but we have been doing well as far as filling those spots with either the drivers in training or other like food service workers in our district. So we're filling those spots well, and we do have 3 aides in training. So since our last meeting, we were under 10. The week after that meeting, our last board meeting, we were under 10 holds. The last 2 weeks we've been under 5, and this week has been 0. Last 2 days.
That's great to see. And I mean, that's been a long road. You guys have worked hard on it, and we had a lot of conversation. But it's great that it's quieted down. I haven't heard anything in 2 weeks. It's great. It's safe to go out in the neighborhood again. But
We'll try to keep it that way for you.
you guys stay on top of it. It's been a long haul, and I applaud your efforts and efforts of Travis and the team to get it staffed up and stay on top of it. It's great to see.
They're looking at a lot of different things and trying to improve. And driver, we talked about where we want to be, but now the name of the game is retention. We want to keep what we have, and so Travis and team, they're working really hard of improving that over there, and working on some programs to kind of help mentor drivers, and principals are doing a great job supporting the drivers if there's any behaviors on buses. And so we're all trying to make kind of a team effort and push forward and keep good people around, and do everything we can to get our kids to school on time and get home.
Very good. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you, Matt, and the whole team over at Transportation. Also, Dr. Dickey has an update for us on our attendance, our approach to try to improve attendance.
We're taking baby steps in the right direction, and we've implemented a lot of things this year, truly trying to improve attendance across the district at all grade levels, preschool and high school. And we're tracking month to month, doing a look back to compare where we are this year through the same point last school year. And we were very happy to see that through October 31st, our numbers look better than they do last year, even up to almost 2% higher in some areas. Proportional attendance, ADA and 90/90 numbers are all trending upwards. We're very happy about that. And then hoping that as we enter the holiday season and into flu season and the sickness, that we can hold steady. And our buildings, we have been reviewing everybody's BSIPs, and everybody has got really unique and interesting ways to try to incentivize good attendance and great attendance, and honoring not only the kids that are there perfect attendance, but kids that are there most of the time, and working with families that are having barriers to attending school. We're really tracking attendance of our homeless populations. That's a subgroup that has some of the worst attendance in the district. And so we go one by one through those students and breaking down barriers wherever we can. We're very blessed with the McKinney-Vento grant that the district has. And so we're really trying to get down to the student level to understand what's keeping kids from coming to school. And I've been very proud of each building. They've put a lot of time and effort into improving attendance, and it's showing.
Jordan, has there been one thing across multiple schools that's made a big difference, or is it just on the school it's a little bit different as far as what the root cause is or what's driving some improvement?
Each school is taking a little bit different approach, and some schools are showing like much greater improvement than others. And so as we kind of dig down into their improvement plans, we're throwing everything at it. And so it's hard to just pin it down on one strategy, but it is, I think if you wanted to umbrella what's different, we're so focused on contact with families, communicating with parents, teachers, principals, everybody in the building, just wrapping supports around the individual child and getting such a personal level with it. I'm hoping that that's what it is, because we're taking some time to get very, very intentional with families.
How many of our students qualify for the homeless piece of that you mentioned?
We, right now, the last time I did an official count was a couple Fridays ago, and it was like 427.
Out of 7,700 students.
Mm-hmm. And so not all of them need some of that funding, but those are families that might be eligible. Like if there's a barrier to them accessing their education in any way, whether it's coming to school or not having supplies, we could use funding to break down those barriers.
Okay, thank you.
And for what it's worth, we're doing more communication at the building level, and for our parents of school students on the board, you'll continue to get reminders from me about school attendance as well as every other parent out there. So we're going to continue to communicate with everybody as much as possible to make sure that attendance becomes better in our district all across the board. So,
well, Carrie and Jordan, I mean, congrats that you guys are moving in the same direction, and I know each school is kind of pulling on this themselves. It's so important, but I can't tell you how pleased I am that you guys are putting the proper focus on it and really trying to drive it forward. So please pass that on to everybody at the school district, and let's keep going. It's great to see.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Shelley has the health and dental plan update. Let's talk.
Okay. On the health and dental plan, this is 1/3 of the year is down, and we spent 2.7, a little over 2.7 million, which is around 35.9%. So we're a little high on the percentage side if we're looking at percentages of what part of the year is gone. We do know that we spend a lot over the summer as we have those teachers doing those things, and we did notice that our health claims dropped tremendously this month, so that helped keep us down in that range. Any questions on the health and dental? Okay, then moving on to the financial statements. If we kind of go to that page 4, the condensed financial statement, if you look at overall, the percentages of revenue is 24% to 22% last year at this time, and part of that is in the local revenue that's come in, and part of those are increase in interest income this time compared to last year, as we've seen the rates that went up. They weren't, very much last year at this time. They were just starting their trend up, so we're recognizing, or some of those term investments hadn't come due yet. So a lot of that is the interest income. There's a little bit increase in delinquent taxes that we received, about 176,000 of that. But otherwise, our expenditures are pretty much in line with the prior year. Any questions?
How long,
Go ahead, Matt.
how long does it take between the time that property taxes are paid for us to get the money to us?
We start receiving, in December, we'll receive a smaller check, what we'd say a smaller check. Most of it, the bulk of it comes in January, first part of January, we start seeing it. And then we receive checks every month of the year from, and they start turning in March. I think we start calling them delinquent taxes, and then they come through.
So that kind of leads into the question I had. So I knew we'd get the bulk of it in January. So do we look at doing some sort of an investment of a
We do.
6-month term or
Yes.
stage it?
Mhm. We have it, last year I laddered out what came in January and laddered out through usually 6 months is where I was kind of going through with, and we might go a little longer this year. I have some at MoCAD is out for a year right now that we've got invested with them, but yes. I've already-
Yeah, and I think that's the right approach. And what I'd be interested to see, I'm not going to put you on the spot and ask you, but if you can, it's just the year-over-year changes is pretty dramatic. So at our future meeting, we would come back and say, hey, look, here's what this looks like as far as dollar differences from an investment income due to the rates changing. That'd just be
Yes.
information to see, because you guys are putting forth the effort in doing that. It's the right thing to do, and I applaud you for that and keep doing that. As rates have jumped, so with that interest earned on it.
Right.
Sustainably.
Yes, it has. And actually, I have the interest income over what we received this month is 747,000. So I do have that's come in this year compared to last year at this time.
Yeah, that's great.
I think when we look at our reserves and investing those in, I think we do a ladder with our CDs and different security investments. We read 2 reports this morning suggesting we could see cuts beginning as soon as March. Some are saying March and June, but some of the predictions are by the December 2024, we could be seeing a 2.5% cut. So fairly significant. So it's risky about how far you lock those in. Long term is
Right.
better, but maintaining liquidity is also important.
Yes.
Did they
and
say our
that's-
government was going to slow down their spending?
That'd be great. The reports I read were more focused on a couple of outlooks on interest rate
Yeah.
cuts. So anyway, with that in mind, I think 2 things. One, we've enjoyed favorable interest revenues, and that's been good. But I think that's coming. That trying to forecast what the future is as we prepare for budget, that'll be interesting.
Right.
What-
Yeah. I don't think it's something we can depend on going into the future.
Yeah.
It's not, but we do, and I am seeing even we get weekly rates from most of, and their rates have started on their 180 days, it's been dropping.
Yeah, I think most of say that if we're not at the peak now, we're right there. It's happened a few weeks ago or a few weeks, but the trend is downward, I think, for remaining 2024.
So the key is then to lock it in for the longer term.
Yes.
Yeah, maintain liquidity that we need while
Where we're
locking
comfortable
in
with what we
favorable
can
interest
have.
rates.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I really appreciate our people that work with us on investments, knowing former school administrators that understand the liquidity part. And when Shelley ladders out with them, that's really the key is the cash available when it's needed.
Very good. Ms. Worsler, do we have public comments this evening? Hearing none, I entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion by Mr. Weaver, a second by Mr. Hurd to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any discussion on this item? Hearing none, please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. Regular agenda, accounts payable, Ms. Toft.
Okay, we have our bill list tonight in the amount of $7,505,607.54. A year ago, it was $6,169,552.86. I do want to point out that with the early board meeting this year and last year, there's only one. If you're looking at the bill list, there's only one bill list compared to, usually there'll be two of those that you'll be approving.
Move for approval of payment of the bills as presented.
A second.
We have a motion by Mrs. Sherrick, a second by Mr. Robertson to approve the payment of our bills. For any additional discussion on this item? Hearing none, please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. The approval of the 2022-2023 audit report. Any additional comments, Ms. Toft?
No. Any questions anybody had after the presentation from me?
Great job.
Good job.
Move that we approve the audit.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Weaver, a second by Mr. Greenlee to approve the 2022-2023 audit report as prepared by Westbrook and Company. Any additional discussion on this item?
Just a comment. I believe we had the same audit last year. So that's a couple years in a row. And I think Dr. Langford before, we also had a clean one. So I think this is what, 3 or 4 years in a row at least. So that's well done and congratulations to the team and keep it up. It's great to see.
Thank you.
That's a solid trend we can all get behind.
Yeah, we have a great
Absolutely.
team in finance, so.
Well, our hats are off to you as well as all of our administration because we know that it is a group effort and a joint effort as our auditor shared with us. So we thank you for what you do in this area. Any other comments? Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. The April 2nd, 2024 school board election, Dr. Saketa.
Okay, every year we have an election that comes up in April. And this year we will have an election set for April 2nd, 2024 on Tuesday. And we have 2 seats that are up for re-election or election. 2 director seats will be chosen as members of the Board of Education for a term of 3 years. The first date of filing for school board candidate is Tuesday, December 5th, 2023, beginning at 8 a.m. And the closing date for candidate filing is Tuesday, December 26, 2023 at 5 p.m. Names of qualified candidates will be placed on the ballot in order of filing, except for candidates filing on the first day. The district will determine by random drawing the order in which the names of first day candidates will appear on the ballot. And this, of course, is for registered voters in the Joplin School District. Cost assessed by Jasper and Newton County clerks. The administration will recommend that the Board of Education approve the attached resolution, which I will read, calling for the April 22nd, 2024 election and approve the date of December 5th, 2023 as the first date of filing and December 26, 2023 as the last date of filing as required by law. The resolution states as such. Notice is hereby given to the qualified voters of the Joplin School District of Joplin Schools, Jasper, and Newton counties in Missouri that the annual election of said district will be held on Tuesday, the second day of April 2024, beginning at 6:00 a.m. and closing at 7:00 p.m. of said day to vote upon the following proposition. To choose 2 directors who shall serve as members of the Board of Education of Joplin Schools for a term of 3 years each. Be it resolved that the Secretary of the Board of Education is hereby authorized and directly to notify in writing the clerk of the county Court of Jasper County, Missouri, and the clerk of the County of Newton County, Missouri, of the adoption of this notice of election no later than 4:30 p.m. on Tuesday, January 23rd, 2024, and to include said notification of all the terms and provisions required by law. I would recommend that the Board of Education adopt the resolution.
I move that we adopt this resolution as presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Ms. Schroeder, a second by Mrs. Sherrick, to approve the attached resolution calling for the April 2nd, 2024 election and approve the date of December 5th, 2023 as the first date of filing and December 26th, 2023 as the last day of filing for school board candidates as required by law. Any discussion on this item? Hearing none, please vote.
Yes?
Yes.
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 Yes, the motion passes.
And I would like to read to the community.
Yes.
So in regard to the school board election, I would like to read this to the community of Joplin School District. Joplin Schools encourages qualified applicants interested in running for a position on the school board to file to be a candidate in the April 2nd, 2024 election. Interested people may file at Joplin Schools Administration Building, 825 South Pearl Avenue, Joplin, Missouri. Filing will begin on Tuesday, December 5th, 2023 at 8 a.m. and will continue during the district's regular business hours, which are Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Except for the first and last dates, candidate filing will not occur on days that the school district's offices are closed due to inclement weather. Filing will also not occur on the following date when the school district's offices are closed, Monday, December 25th, 2023. Candidate filing will resume at 8 a.m. on Tuesday, December 26th, 2023, and close at 5 p.m. Tuesday, December 26, 2023 is the last day for candidate filing. Names of qualified candidates will be placed on the ballot in order of filing, except for candidates filing on the first day. The district will determine by random drawing the order in which the names of first candidates will appear on the ballot. There are 2 board positions available with the 3-year term. For any questions or information, please contact Cheryl Warshler at 417-625-5200, extension 2020, or Cheryl Warshler at joplinschools.org. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Saketa. Our final item, item number H, it's RY. I'll share some about this. A few weeks back, Dr. Saketa and I were sitting in a meeting visiting really about our board meetings and what these look like. And we have done, since roughly 2015, the plus delta thought process. And I think that has has served its purpose. But something that we discussed was how do we do something that's more really focused on why we as board members are privileged to serve in the positions in which we're elected to. And something that we have rolled out this past year at Missouri School Boards Association has been It's RY, which was an initiative that was promoted and really has taken off by the state president, Ruth Johnson, from up north by Kansas City. And she shares a lot about this and what that means, why we do what we do as board members. And so I have asked, and Dr. Saketa agrees, that we have this section added to our board meetings. So I would just ask the board in the future as we move forward to really share an instance, a meeting, an opportunity in which they have interacted with somebody over the past month, or an organization, or at a particular time, why they said, wow, this is why I got into what I'm doing. And I think it really gives us a great opportunity to center ourselves and just showcase the good things that are happening here in Joplin schools. So I've asked that we add that to our agenda and we try it. And if we don't like it, that's okay. We can do something else. That's fine as well. So that is now something that we are adding to our agenda. So I would share, for me, to start us off for this month, for the why, I've had a really great opportunity to be a part of all of our elementary schools here in Joplin, and to visit with those individuals who are there. I would like to give a shout out to my school, Kelsey Norman, because they had a great event this past week where kids were able to go and really showcase different things that they enjoyed with their family. It was a family night. It was a fire night. Everybody was able to spend time together there, and some kids were reading by the fire. Some kids were doing other opportunities. There were all kinds of things that were happening in that building, and there were so many happy young students there. And it was great to be a part of that, because what I was able to observe is really this sense of community and this sense of purpose that really is in that building. And that's been fostered by a lot of people who've been there for a long time, for the community within the school, and the students and the parents who were there. And it was such a great opportunity to be able to interact with those students. And it really brought me back to why I choose to serve on the Joplin School Board, because it is a choice, and it has been a great choice for me. So that's part of my why this past month. I'd entertain a motion. Yes.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't want to put anyone on the spot since it's new. So
It's a good idea. So Abigail had mentioned earlier, but for those that saw the kid at the project graduation painting their parking stalls, it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen, and very creative. And there's a lot of great artists out there. But it was funny where you could go to the local, Lowe's, and the gal literally at the paint counter was like, "Okay, high school senior, yes, you need one of these, you need two of these. This will fill out your stall." And it was like next. And then I asked her, I said, "How many people have you seen?" She's like, "All day. It's the same thing." So our community was a little bit involved there, but if you go over to the parking lot and you see the art that they did, and those kids spent, I think, most of the day for a lot of them.
Yeah, most of both.
And I actually watched one kid who's a senior. He painted himself into a square in the middle of his stall spot, and then realized he had to wait till it dried, which I laughed tremendously at that. It's like, think about where you're finished before you start. So that was great. But I think that is, you see, they're seniors, they're young men and women now, doing something really fun. It's something they'll remember forever. That was great to see. And the other one I would call out is over at the FTC last week, the chili cook-off and the cornhole tournament that they had. And apparently, Casey Dorton's quite the athlete, that she made it to the semifinals, and she was pitching hard to win. But the kids that I talked to that were involved in that event, they said it was really the best thing they've been to the entire year, and they absolutely loved it. And I think the teachers that were there, and Casey and her group, the enthusiasm they had, that engagement, that bond that they have with the students, I think it just gets so strengthened by things like that. And I look at that and I say, nobody had to do that. Everybody there wanted to do that. And I think the students know that. They deeply appreciated it. And I heard nothing but just super positive things out of that. So there's two things that I'd share there that I think were just absolutely great, of people going above and beyond.
But I'd like to call out Rick Kinkle, our director of child nutrition. Whenever we were at the School Board Association conference this week, they have the expo. We can go around and see all the different vendors who are trying to get services for us, and all the food service vendors who try to take over the cafeterias for the school districts. They saw that we were from Joplin Schools and said, "Oh, that's Rick's building. That's Rick's district. He does a great job, and there's no chance of getting a foot in there because."
What was the question they asked you though?
I don't remember.
When's Rick retiring?
Right. Yes. Yeah. He does a great job, and just kudos to him and his staff for what they do for our kids.
But they asked that question because they said there's no way we can compete while he's running the program. So they were giving him a compliment while they were asking that.
Definitely.
thank you both so much for sharing. Anything else?
Well, I'm going to share. Dr. Dickey invited me to join the School Counseling Advisory Committee, which I was able to attend last week, and that did my heart good as a retired school counselor. But also it was exciting hearing what is going on in our district with our counselors and the goals that they are working towards a comprehensive school counseling program. They work really hard. And when you look at it, how are our kids different as a result of what our counselors do? And I think that's something that's very important. Sometimes we forget about them in our buildings, but they are educators and just as important, or sometimes even more so, depending what's going on in the building. But shout out to our school counselors and to Dr. Dickey, who is leading the charge, I guess, towards our comprehensive program.
Thank you.
Want to comment on our early childhood center. I had the opportunity to partner with them this year, and what a great facility. That's right next to Irving out there off of McClellan. The things that they do there, I think, are so critical to child development, and a lot of the issues that we face in the elementary schools, if we get more people in the early childhood program, we'd have a better chance of catching those early while they're easier to correct. And so I hope that in the future, early childhood is something that we take a look at expanding. I know that there's a huge need, and I'm a believer in it after touring the program and seeing what the teachers do there. And so I'm really thankful for that. And I know there's a lot of funding out there for that, a lot of grants, and it's something I think that would do our community well and to serve a vital need. So I'm hoping that we have further discussions on that.
I'd like to talk about one that happened today, and it's one we may not think about. I was at a senior center today and got in the elevator with the gentleman who saw my shirt and said, "I'm so proud to see that." I graduated in 1968, and he was just a proud Joplin alumni, glad to see someone else in Joplin being proud of Joplin and Joplin schools, wearing a Joplin Eagle. It was a great opportunity to visit with somebody in the community who was just proud of being an Eagle.
I agree with you. I always enjoy wearing the Joplin Eagles colors as well, because I hear similar comments to that in the community. So I'm proud to graduate from Joplin schools. It's a good thing. Okay, thank you all so much for sharing, and I hope that we can continue this every month. Think on really those instances that you've had throughout the month, and we really hope that you can share those. Thanks to Melissa Randall and Ruth Johnson, all those at MSBA for striking this idea. I'm really glad that we're able to do this in Joplin. Okay, I'd entertain a motion now. I think we've got everything done to adjourn.
I'll move, we adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Robertson, a second by Mr. Hurd to adjourn. Any further discussion? Hearing none, please vote.
Yes?
Yes.
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 Yes, our meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Very good.